When you have a good gut microbiome, it's going to help with overall immune system. It's going to help with dopamine and serotonin production because a lot of it is in the gut, not in the brain. When it comes down to it, you'll figure out that kale, spinach, fruits like oranges, apples, whatever the case, has protein.
Today we speak with Korin Sutton. Korin is a master fitness trainer, health coach, 3-time pro-vegan bodybuilder, author, speaker, and vegan chef. We'll talk about the benefits of a plant-based diet so you can decide if it makes sense for you. Plus, he's got awesome workout tips to help you get that six-pack you've been waiting for forever.
So if you're sitting down doing this, you're sitting down driving a car, you're sitting down when you eat, you sit down at your job for 8 hours. Now you're going to go to the gym and sit down too to work out.
Hi, Korin, and welcome to Common Denominator.
Hey, what's up? How you doing?
I'm doing very well. I want to, first of all, say thank you. 8 years in the military. If looking back now, how was that experience for you? And any memories that stand out?
I'm definitely a completely different person now versus then. But when I was in the military, I served 4 years in the United States Marine Corps, fully active service, deployed to Operation Iraqi Freedom 3 and 4. And then once I got out, I did another 4 years in the United States Navy Reserves. So Marines who's listening to this right now, they're probably like, what? how could you switch branches? But I went ahead and did that because I wanted to try to see if I wanted to transition out or continue with the service at that period of my life. So that was one of the reasons why. But being in the military, I definitely learned many things, especially leadership, never giving up on your goals and dreams, just having that determination and that drive. So there was a lot of benefits, but there was a lot of things I had to take out of my life as well, which wasn't serving me any purpose in the real world.
How do you because we've had other people from military and they've been able to find solutions, coming out of the military. What was some of your practices that you implemented, mental health wise, that you were able to implement in your life?
For me, it was a big lifestyle change. So there's different parts that I did. So one part was me going plant-based, going vegan, right? It all started, and the vegan story plays a part of this. So
so how did you? How did you eventually?
When I went vegan, I had Gary Roski come into my classroom. I was in the Navy Reserves at the time, and I was learning about persuasive public speaking. That was like the term we were on at that time. So Gary Roski, a vegan activist, came into my classroom, started talking about veganism, about the ethics, medical health reasons why it should go. Now, part of that story and that presentation, what actually caught my attention was just seeing how life was being dissipated from an animal's like body, and just seeing the face and the expression of those animals, like literally leaving this plane or this realm or this earth. It was the same thing that I experienced when I was in war. Because like I said, I've seen comrades and even like the terrorists just die. And the mind isn't meant to be like exposed to that much death, pain, and suffering. So when I was seeing how these animals were getting all this treatment of pain and suffering, especially in the factory farms, and when you're in the military as well, you learn how to make like prisons. Like you learn how to do that for when you're capturing like enemies and stuff like that. So seeing how the system was very similar, but the only difference is this one is a slaughterhouse. I was like, man, like I never looked at animals this way. I always looked at it as food, just like anyone else. But once you raise the veil and you see the reality of what really goes on, the abuse, the pain and suffering that these animals are going through, you see that they're only trying to strive for life. And it's like, you just kind of like sit there and start thinking about stuff. Yeah. And for me, it affected me like hardcore because I experienced death in war. I've seen the worst of how human beings treat each other. So when I saw humans treating these innocent animals the same way, I was like, I don't want to condone to this. And just getting like, pastured or grass-fed animals, or, there's no gray area in this. There's no gray area, because at the end of the day, they're still executing them.
I remember I had the same feeling. Before I went to the real estate business, I was in the insurance business, and there was a slaughterhouse in Iowa.
Yeah.
And very big facility. And, it was supposed to be known as kosher, right? Like, so it was like a higher standard. But you could see if you're sensitive and you see the line, right? So it's supposed to be a higher, more sensitive to the animals. And I saw the face, like you could see they're lining up and they know.
Yeah.
The animals know.
Yeah.
Even though it sounds crazy, but they know. So, and recently, a couple of years ago, so I eat very, very little meat. I don't, chicken I'll eat a little more.
Yeah.
Fish I eat, but just energetically, same feeling, right? If you feel that, and we have a farm in North Florida, and we have cows and goats and sheep, and I just don't have the heart to, they're out in the field. We're supposed to, slaughter them.
Yeah.
And I told my kids, I'm like, probably not going to happen. So I really relate to that, and I'm leaning more towards vegan, and that's why it's great to understand. I'm looking at you, and I'm like, this guy's for sure a meat eater. Just your physique.
Yeah.
But tell us about kind of being vegan. How can you get all the supplements, all the nutrients, everything you need as being a vegan?
Absolutely. So one thing that I do as well, teach a lot of my clients, is learn how to track your calories, your macros, your micronutrients. So there's a lot of apps out there, for example, MyFitnessPal or Chronometer, where you can literally write down everything you eat and then make sure you're getting all the proper vitamins and minerals that you actually need to, be healthy. And what I teach a lot of my clients as well is learning how to do a hypernourishment diet. So hypernourishment means that you want to get more than enough vitamins, minerals, dietary fiber when it comes to overall health and wellness, especially dietary fiber. The average American only gets about 5 to 10 grams of dietary fiber per day. The benchmark is at 32 grams of dietary fiber. So when people enter my program to help with their gut microbiome, and what we do is we try over exceed that from 32 to 60, So we try to get a lot of fiber into individuals' gut so they can create more pre and probiotics so they have a good gut microbiome within themselves.
Why is and we hear about that a lot, about the gut microbiome. And I know when I visited, I was in Switzerland and visited my doctor, and that's what she said. She's like, we're going to focus on your gut microbiome.
Yeah.
Why is that all over now? Why is that discussion about gut microbiome, and why is it so important?
Yeah. The gut is literally the second brain, If you kind of think about it, and I like breaking it down very simplistic. So if you think about it, when your stomach hurt, do you feel like doing anything at all? You shut down, right? Same thing if you had a strong migraine. It's like you shut down. You can't really do anything. You're hurt because it's literally the second brain. And when you have a good gut microbiome, that's going to help with overall immune system. It's going to help with dopamine and serotonin production, because a lot of it is in the gut, not in the brain. People think serotonin, dopamine is only here, but most of it is produced here in the gut. So the more fiber you actually feed your body, actually, technically, the happier you're going to be, the better you're going to be, the healthier you're going to be, because these are important organs that has to be good. So that's pretty much it. And
is there any loss if someone goes vegan? What can supplement? Like, you also hear a lot about protein, meat based. How do you get? Do you need that?
Yeah.
Even, and how do you get that as a supplement? Where do you get it from, vegan wise?
All right. So when it comes down to the protein, we could start with that one first. All plants has protein. So we're just conditioned on a standard American diet. So the standard American diet education is very simple and basic. It's like, and this is probably, a lot of people could probably relate. When we were in school, what we learned, protein, you could get it from animal byproducts, fish, pork, beef, chicken, and eggs, right? And then if you want strong bones, then you have milk. And if you want healthy fats, eat a little bit of nuts, the seeds, but you could get that from the salmon though, for your omegas. Very basic. And fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, grains and legumes, you could have that because they're healthy. Like it's very simplistic, it's blanket. But on a plant-based diet, it's more complex. You have to re-educate yourself when it comes to food. And when it comes to the re-education, I always say it's not like you're flipping the switch or relearning. You're actually learning what exactly you're actually putting in your mouth. You have to understand every fruit, every vegetable, every grain, legume, nuts, seeds. You have to understand the nutritional value. And this is why I teach a lot of my clients. Yeah. Because I had to learn this. Even as a nutritionist, I had to learn all of this stuff. So I felt that when it comes down to it, you'll figure out that kale, spinach, fruits like oranges, apples, whatever the case, has protein. Some has a little bit, some has more. Now, if you want to look at primary protein sources, like high protein that's more comparable to meat, then you have tofu, tempeh, seitan, protein powders, and mock meats. So those are going to have a high range between 20 all the way up to 80 grams of protein, okay? And then with the combination of plant-based foods, that's how you're able to get all the protein you need for whatever goals you're trying to achieve. So for example, myself, I do bodybuilding. I want to build muscle. So I get about 180 to 200 grams of protein on a whole foods plant-based diet. And I use protein powder, tofu, and seitan. Not the demon, like seitan, it's wheat gluten. Okay. And then everything else, I combined it with a whole foods plant-based diet, like grains, legumes, vegetables, nuts, seeds, fruits. And with that combination and understanding how to make macro-friendly foods, that's how I'm able to eat well, eat actual dishes, like recipes that actually taste good, entrees. I can go out, have some delicious foods because I track everything and I know how to delegate food within my lifestyle. I'm more conscious of what I'm putting into my body. And that's, again, is what I do for a lot of people as well.
Yeah, I know my son, he put me on the MyFitnessPal app. But to make that, right, so eventually, right, as a layperson, I'm listening to this.
Yeah.
It probably takes time, right? It's like studying.
Oh, yeah.
In other words, is it important for you or is it not? Just so we explain to the audience, how important is the food intake versus your quality of life?
Food is everything because it is part of quality of life, So to like what you're doing by tracking it, now you're having a better understanding of what you're getting, So for example, if you got your blood work done and your doctor says your iron's low, and they just say, like, most doctors would just say, like, increase your meat intake. But what if you say I'm vegan and the doctor is biased on plant-based nutrition? They're going to tell you that you can't get iron on a plant-based diet because of bioavailability. But if you went to a dietitian nutritionist who's not biased on a plant, like when it comes to eating meat and plant-based, they're going to be more knowledgeable and tell you, like, well, there's a difference of iron. But if you're trying to do this plant-based lifestyle, then here's the type of foods that you have to eat to get that iron. Now, if you're tracking, you wouldn't even have to ask for advice because you would know. Because if you're tracking all your foods, you could be like, all right, well, the past couple of days my iron has been low. Maybe I could chat GPT it, like literally there's a little bit of research, a little bit of due diligence, but you type in chat GPT, like, how can I what's the best plant-based foods that has a lot of iron? Because my iron's low, it's going to print you out a huge list of dark leafy greens, fortified foods, X, Y, and Z. And then you just take that information, apply it, and then you can see your iron levels skyrocket, and then you're like, okay, get retested, see where you're at. If it's in the optimal range, you're doing great. If it's not, maybe you have to add more. And this is why I tell people like the hypernourishment protocol, because if you're just getting that 100% each day, is it enough? Maybe not. Like everybody's body works differently. So for someone like me, I have to get a lot of iron in my diet, especially on a plant-based diet, because my family history has they're anemic. A lot of people in my family has anemia. So I make sure I take like an iron supplement plus dark leafy greens and vitamin C, because if you have like iron and vitamin C food together, it increased the absorption of the iron by 5 times on a plant-based diet. Yeah. So I do something like that, just for example, if that makes sense.
But I think, again, from that layperson, you're really right. So they've just been eating fast food, and they're realizing they hit rock bottom and changing the lifestyle. What would you say? Because my wife's a health counselor as well. Yeah. And she would always say, start with one thing. Yeah. Right. When you're starting with a new client, what would be the action step, the starting point where you would advise that would make the most impact for them?
I mean, it really depends where they're at in their journey. Because let's say someone, like your wife's right with, if we're talking about generalizing, right? Like, I would agree with her saying like, start with one thing. Like if you're on a standard diet or the SAD diet, standard American diet, going from junk food to eating healthy, start off with one thing. Maybe you want to, especially if you're going plant-based or whatever, maybe you want to take like animal-based products and just find the meat alternative for that. So if you eat a lot of chicken, your cholesterol is high. Your doctor says lower your cholesterol. Maybe you want to reduce your meat intake. Maybe find some plant-based foods that's similar or mimic chicken. Like there's dairying foods. They create dairying chicken. Gardein has it. Abbott's. The Upton's. I think Upton's has something like that. Find some good alternatives that's easy to find, that's similar to foods that you already eat. But let's say someone has type 2 diabetes, and their A1C levels are skyrocketing. Now, if they're coming to me, we're not going to do one thing at a time, because I usually tell the client this, like, look, you're already diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. You already passed the precursor when you were pre-diabetic, which in my eyes, pre-diabetic is BS. You already have diabetes. Your A1C levels is already compromised. Now, why are you going to wait till you're actually diagnosed in medical terms of type 2 diabetes? It's just your A1C level went from one level to a higher level, to extreme. And now they're trying to push some type of medication like metformin on you, right? So if you're already there, you're in the red zone. It's like you're revving your car at redlining. Do you have time to really do things slowly to get out of that red line? Because what happens if you take your time letting your foot off the pedal when you're redlining a car? The engine's gonna blow, or the tranny, right? Same thing with your body. You don't have enough time. You already abused your privileges of eating junk food. Yeah. So now we have to do radical results, radical actions for radical results.
We have to just hope, right, that people really value their life and they're really gonna hold themselves accountable and really make those changes. Yeah. Because I've been around certain family members and stuff, and it's hard. So when you've had those old habits, so you have to make sure you're being held accountable. One thing that I see that people talk about, which we were talking about before the show. Yeah. It's like, let me give all these supplements, let me take all these supplements. But I think about, clean water, clean food, which we talked about, sleep, right? And some sort of exercise. Yeah. If someone doesn't have a lot of time, let's just talk about exercise. If someone doesn't have a lot of time to do that exercise, what would you recommend? Let's say they have 20 minutes a day. What kind of exercise would you recommend for them? Sure.
The best exercise that I would recommend is going to be more of a functional training program. All right. Functional training is basically a full body workout where you're able to activate multiple muscle groups at the same time while moving the body in multiple planes of motion. So pretty much like Beachbody when you're seeing like these boot camps, like Shanti has like the 20-minute burn or something like that. Something like that is good because you're moving your body, you're getting the sweat on, and you're burning calories very fast, because the goal at that point is just moving your body and burning calories, okay? So by activating more muscle groups, you're able to burn more calories because more muscles are being activated, versus just going to the gym, doing like a bodybuilding program or just not lifting weights, but using machinery. Like, you're not doing anything. You're doing something, but it's not effective, because it's like if I'm just there doing a machine, I only got 20 minutes, like I'm only activating one or two muscle groups and I'm in an isolated position. And for someone being in an isolated position, you're not going to burn a lot of calories in a short period of time. And being in an isolated position, you have to think about your lifestyle. Most people's lifestyle is already in an isolated position. Like even us right now, we're in an isolated position. We're just sitting down. So if you're sitting down doing this, you're sitting down driving a car, you're sitting down when you eat, you sit down at your job for 8 hours. Now you're going to go to the gym and sit down to work out. So that's why functional training is more beneficial, because it's going to help you burn calories and get you moving. And I'd rather have someone do that within 20 or 30 minutes that could burn around 200 and 300 calories versus doing like a hypertrophy training program or a bodybuilding program where they're only going to burn like 100 calories or 150 calories during that time frame.
And I've seen what's become very popular, right? Everyone has the watches and counting the steps.
Yeah.
Is there a value to that, like making sure you hit 10,000 steps or?
Yeah, I mean, there's some value from it. I mean, it really depends on where someone's at in their journey. So, if you're someone who's, a couch potato and now you're just getting off the couch to get moving and you haven't made that commitment to go to the gym, it's all relative, really. You know what I'm saying? So it's like if you're someone who's just very inactive, going to an activity, which I've had clients like that where they're 300 pounds, they have arthritis, type 2 diabetes, hate the gym, but they know they want to change their life, So making the gym as option is probably not the best thing right now. And I know I said like I'm about radical action, but sometimes you can't push people. You have to start very, like your wife, very basic to the.
Yeah, no, my son was telling me that, to your point, the easiest thing is like math on the MyFitnessPal, right? If your calories are 2,000 and you're entering all the foods that you've eaten, and if you want to lose weight for the losing weight purpose, this is what he told me, right? So you just make sure that you eat less of your maximum calories.
Yeah.
Right. So that simplifies it. That's why I also really like that. But I know, right, as we age, right, over 40, sleep is also some area that I find our minds are always going. Any hacks for that? Any hacks for sleeping well?
Absolutely. So what I have in my hand right here is a Oura Ring. Okay. So with the Oura Ring, this is I recommend a lot of my clients to do it. If you have trouble sleeping, I highly recommend using it. Just as I think tracking your food is very important, tracking your sleep is vital. Sleep is everything, especially if you're training, you're working out, like dieting, whatever the case can be. Sleep is everything, because that's when your body actually recovers and repairs itself. All the magic happens when you're sleeping. So if you're not getting good sleep, your hormones could be off, your cortisols could be skyrocketing, and that can actually play a significant effect when it comes to weight loss and weight management overall. Even when it comes to exercise, it could lower your performance if you're not getting proper sleep. It can ruin your work performance because mentally you always feel stressed and fatigued. So sleep is where it's at. So with the Oura Ring, you're not just tracking how many hours of sleep, but you're also tracking the quality of different stages of sleep that you're getting as well. So you want to focus on deep sleep, on your REM sleep, on your light sleep, sleeping patterns, and then you want to also have discipline on when you're actually going to bed, because your body likes routine. it likes doing the same thing over and over again. So if you have a particular sleeping time, you want to kind of stick to that as much as possible, because that's going to help with mental health, with physical repairment, also with stress and your hormones, and you're going to get the best benefits of sleep. Because I got to a point where, a personal story for me, I got to a point where I thought I was just like grinding in work, and like waking up 3 a.m., start working, go to gym at 5, come back at 8, continue to work. And I was doing this like 12 to 17 hour shifts every single day. I just wanted success, right? So I was just grinding. And it got to a point where I was grinding so hard that I felt like I was going like mentally crazy. Like I couldn't sleep. My sleeping was off. I was feeling always tired. So I was checking my hormones. My hormones were good. And I'm like, all right, maybe I had to get a psychiatrist. So I got a psychiatrist, talking about mental health and stuff like that. He didn't really see any issues. He's just like, yeah, you're just someone who's determined. Next thing you know, I started seeing these sleep ads online. I saw the Whoop first, and then I saw the Oura Ring, because with the Whoop, it's like this watch, it's like wrapped. And I was like, I don't like things on my wrist. But the Oura Ring, I was like, all right, this is on your finger. Oh, I could sleep with that, because I usually take everything off when I'm sleeping. I don't like anything on me. So with the ring, when I started using this, it started indicating what was going on. It was saying my sleeping schedule was inconsistent. Yeah, I was going to bed at random times. I didn't have a cool down cycle, which is like, I was working till I got tired. I didn't make a time where I was like, you have to stop working at this time and get away from all electronic devices and just like wind down. So I started doing that like at least an hour before I stopped working. Let's say I stopped working at 8, I was get off work technically at 7. So at 7, that's end of work. So by 8 or 9, I can get ready to go to bed. So because it allows your mind to go from work mode to shift to rest mode and relax mode. And then food intake. I was eating whenever I could. With the ring, it was showing me that you have to stop eating at least 2 hours prior for your metabolism and your stomach to shut down digestion. So I was like, oh, okay. I knew you shouldn't go to bed on an empty stomach. And from my knowledge, it was like 1 hour. I would try to do that from time to time. But seeing how it was affecting me, I noticed like 2 hours or more was better. So when I was shutting down my eating, even if I'm up late, I'll sip on water or something, or have a very light snack. But because I'll say I'm not perfect, I'm not like a robot or anything, but I try to do that window at least 2-3 hours prior. So when I go to bed, my digestion is off. I don't have any type of indigestion, and I feel good, and my heart rate would drop. My heart rate was at 60 to 70 before I got the Oura Ring. Now I got it into the 50s and 40s.
That's really good.
When I'm sleeping, yeah.
Because people don't realize if you're still digesting, if you eat late at night before you go to sleep, your heart rate is not able to relax. Therefore, you can't go into the REM sleep. Therefore, you can't recover.
Exactly.
That's for sure. So that's really amazing. Let me ask you, Korin, what is something through this journey that you've been through? What is something that you're grateful for?
I'm pretty much grateful for where I'm at today. I'm able to build a business to help thousands of people with their health and wellness, because health and wellness is like your life. So I'm saving lives, and I'm very grateful for that, because in the military, that's one of the reasons why I joined, because I wanted to help and protect. But it was just like a different type of war I was fighting, until I realized the war and obesity and just being unhealthy was way greater than just war, So when I saw that, I was like, man, by doing personal training and nutrition, I'm able to really help individuals. And I could see the benefits of helping people. In war, you don't see nothing. You just get maybe a couple discounts at certain stores. Maybe, people will say hey, thank you for your service, a little handshake. But to me, I'm I'm grateful for those compliments, but it's not like true gratification versus when you help someone with their life. Because it's a totally different, they're not just shaking my hand, they're giving me a whole life story and telling me how I was able to change everything. within their lifestyle. And a lot of people don't see that in the beginning when they don't go into coaching, but once they actually take that leap and they go with it, and then they finish the program, they're like, man, like, you really changed my life. Like, you don't understand. Because like I said, like, I help with sleep, with lifestyle, nutrition, fitness, like really flip everything around. So that's pretty much what I'm grateful for. And then also building a business to create jobs for other people as well. Because I've been in the fitness industry for over 15 years, and it's tough. It's a tough job. A lot of people aren't trying to buy coaching and personal training as their first choice in life. You know, people will buy a lot of things that's going to help with instant gratification or some type of entertainment versus their own life. Like they could be overweight, sick, diabetes, taking medications, but they'll still buy tickets to go to a Heat game or to a NASCAR race or something like that, versus investing into themselves. Like it's like something really has to hit the fan for them to realize, like, okay, I really need to stop doing all these luxury things and really focus on me. So we're pretty much at the bottom of the total pole, which is sad, right? So
it's what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is, though. You know.
But there are people, and that's the community.
Yeah,
you can be around people that want to make focus on growth.
Absolutely, so, and going back to what I was saying is like, being able to give other coaches to be able to like work with that freedom and do what they love without the pressure of social media, because like social media, marketing, all that stuff, it's tough. It's not for everybody, and you have to have you have to have tough skin to be in the game on social media and marketing. So to be able to take that off their backs and be able to work from home and really help people and educate people and give more value to the people they serve, that's what I'm grateful for by doing this as well.
I love that. And what would you say is the common denominator of an individual that has a truly healthy lifestyle?
The common denominator when you have a true lifestyle is everything's perfect. You feel great. The world looks at you differently when you're fit, because we live in a world of people that is overweight or obese. And when you take care of yourself, there's a different level of respect that people look at you. And that level of respect is like, when it comes to work, people respect you more because they're like, man, if he's that disciplined with himself, that's going to play a big role in everything else he does. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that's some of the biggest benefits, like when you take care of yourself, because you're first before you can help others. And if you can't help yourself, how are you going to help other people? Yeah. So it's a great reflection of that. Yeah, that's what I believe.
The discipline shows in the work environment a reliability.
Yeah.
This person, right, he made his bed, he did this, and he did it every day. So, but I really appreciate this, Korin. How can people find you on social, perhaps get your coaching?
You can find me anywhere because I post on every single platform that's out there. Just type in my name, Korin Sutton, and you'll find me. You'll find my services there. You go to my website at bodyhdfitness.com or email me at korinsutton@bodyhdfitness.com.
Well, thank you so much. It's really been great. Thank you so much.
No doubt.
Hope you enjoyed my conversation with Korin. If you haven't already, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform. Subscribing ensures you never miss an episode, and it helps us continue to bring you meaningful conversations that make a difference. Thank you for being part of our growing community. We couldn't do this without you. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you again soon.